This Steve Jones Show podcast is now loading. The Steve Jones Show podcast is presented by Sunbury Motor Company, Purdy Insurance, Brewers Outlet, and NIL Game Changers. Bringing you an in-depth look at Penn State sports and more. This is the Steve Jones Show on News Radio 1070 WKOK. The Steve Jones Show is presented by Purdy Insurance, Brewers Outlet, and Sunbury Motor Company. Now from the Sunbury Motor Studio, here's Steve Jones.
Great to be with you on the show today. Brought to you by our good friends at Sunbury Motors at 4th Street in Sunbury. Sunbury Motors Kia, routes 11 and 15, Hummels Wharf, and online at sunburymotors.com. Ford, Kia, Hyundai. Best in new inventory, great pre-owned inventory with the Sunbury Motors guarantee. Means they go over every vehicle with a fine-tooth comb. And it means that it eases the buying experience. And for the life of the car, you're going to want great care. Quick lane, inspections, routine, difficult. They handle it all at Sunbury Motors, 4th Street in Sunbury. Sunbury Motors Kia, routes 11 and 15, Hummels Wharf, and online at sunburymotors.com. Todd, how are you?
I'm doing all right. How are you today?
Good. How was last night?
I had my last basketball practice, so it was mostly a pizza party, so it went well.
Oh, great. Okay. Now they're talking about starting tomorrow morning and going to early Saturday morning, an inch or two of snow. Interesting.
Sounds like more and more fun.
You know what? You look at SMU, and man, do you see the talent. It's right there. You see it. You don't have to be a genius to sit there and watch the tape and go, man, that guy's an athlete. Man, that guy's an athlete. But they've got some really weird, like just the stat part of it, and it does show up in the tape a little bit, okay? And, there's a lot of really good stuff, 39 points a game, what they do offensively, you know what I mean? You see all that stuff. And then I see some stuff where I sit back and go, how'd they win 11 games? Now, I'll give you, I already did the minus 11 giveaway takeaway on the road. Everybody knows that. I've already mentioned that. Here's another one for you. You want to know how many times SMU has fumbled the football this year? 23 times in 13 games. What? Now, they lost 12 of them, so obviously they didn't lose all of them. But 23 fumbles? Really? You sit back and go, wow. Okay? So they can get a little adventurous and a little loosey-goosey with the ball, to quote Joe. But, yeah, again, I see stuff like that, and I sit back and go, really? Like, that's weird. Okay? The rushing defense. I think the rushing defense is number 1 in the ACC and 4th in the nation or something like that. But then you take a deeper dive into it. Okay. How many teams out of 13 were in the top 60 rushing offenses? We're talking about 60, 6-0. How many?
I'm guessing 1 or none.
3. The other 10, no. The other 10 are 60 through 104. Okay. I'm just saying there's there's weird numbers in there where you sit back and go, okay, that doesn't make any sense. That one doesn't make any sense. Right? Okay. See what I mean? There's like stuff that doesn't add up. I don't know. I know they've been practicing in the morning because that's the coolest time of the day for them to practice. Now, I don't know if they practice in the morning normally anyway. That part I don't know. So maybe they do, like UCLA does. So the time change thing, it's only an hour. It's going to be no big deal. They're used to kicking off at 11 a.m. On their body clock, so that's no big deal. But I'm sure they're trying to go in the morning because it's the coolest time of day there.
That was AP's story yesterday for today's papers. Was a story on the weather, and Tennessee's another team that practices all year during the morning, which I didn't realize. But then when you think about it, it's pretty darn humid in August down there, so I can see why they would start in the morning at least.
Right? Yeah. Right. Go in the morning. And then you have your classes backloaded in the afternoon. Right? You can do all that. That's that part's fine. And everybody has their own way of doing it. And I have no problem with that. Right now in Dallas, it's 55 degrees. Real feel, 60. Oh, boy.
That's one thing it doesn't do around here. Is the real fuel is not higher than the high temperature in December around here.
No. I mean, it's they're going to have a high of 61 today. All right. And real feel in the shade, 62. Real feel high, 63. No. Now, both teams, I mean, Rhett Lashley's correct. Both teams have to play in it. But like I was saying to you about Rich Phillips the other day, you and I were talking about this. And I said, when he said, it's cold for both teams, I remember I said to you afterward, so who's he trying to convince? Us or himself? I think it was more the latter.
I mean, we've talked about this a lot this week. I mean, I live around here. I don't think anybody can get used to it. I don't think it's going to be the cold. It's that darn wind. I walked in on the mountain today, and good heavens.
I completely agree with that. Number one, nobody likes playing in it. I love it. You do? Okay.
I think you should go talk to somebody about that if you do.
Right. I mean, it's a long time ago, but I remember in high school, we'd have to play games around Thanksgiving all the time. Our crosstown rival was always Thanksgiving Day. And you know what? It's like you're practicing it during the week. You're like, oh, this is brutal. Right. Okay, well, we're in New England. We're supposed to be used to it and so on and so forth. It doesn't mean you enjoy it. You're used to it. You are used to it. But it's still not fun. How about that?
No, and it takes 2 or 3 layers to protect you from that wind as well.
Right, yeah, and the wind is problematic. I also think the wind goes into the wind and the cold go into decision making, and the decision making is with the kicking game. That's where I think the decision making goes into. Okay, I drive the ball to, let's pick an arbitrary number, the 35-yard line, 52-yard attempt. Okay, now I realize the balls are kept in a bag, the K-balls, but geez, they're not the same temperature as what you're normally used to kicking. Right, so now do I think I have to get the ball to maybe the 25 to 30 before I try a field goal? See what I mean? Like, what's your thought process as to how it plays out?
Does the wind usually come from one direction in Beaver Stadium, or does it swirl?
Yeah, it comes in from the north end, the old upper deck, but then it hits the south end, that building, and now it swirls.
Yeah.
So it used to be just straight. It would go through. Before they built the building in 2001, with the club seats and everything, used to go boom. It was straight, as we saw the broadcast, with left to right, north to south. Okay. Well, then they built the building with the club seats and the additional upper deck and so forth. And that changed everything because now it comes straight in from the north, which it will on Saturday. It will be about out of the northwest, but it's going to hit that and then it swirls. So it does bring with it challenges. And again, I think it brings with it coaching decisions as to going for it or kicking a field goal if that's the spot you're in. But they've got so many marvelous stats. A 3,000-yard passer in Jennings, who's also run for 400. You've got a running back in Smith, converted wideout. It's a really good receiver. Rushed for over 1,100 this year. He's got a little giddy up to him. He kind of boom, gets through that hole, makes a cut, goes. I mean, Daniels, the wide receiver, really is talented, good player. But, and then why the -11 giveaway takeaway on the road? Odd, right? 23 fumbles. They lost 12, but 23 times they fumbled the ball. Why? I mean, let's face it. I mean, Rich himself said the other day, he was talking about Daniels on punt return. He said, well, he returned one for a touchdown, 80 yards. He said, but he also has a tendency sometimes to put the ball on the ground. I said, in other words, adventurous. He said, yeah. I mean, and that's kind of like them. They can break a big play at any minute, and they can give you the ball back at any minute. And penalty. Here's the other part, too. Penalties. You know how many penalties per game they average? 8. They average a little bit more than 80 yards per game in penalties. Now, they are a chippy, yappy group. I mean, they do that. They a little chippy, a little yappy, boom, boom. They try to draw you into stuff, get you off your game, blah, 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 blah. Okay? But, I mean, but they've got some stats that when you're done looking at those stats, and you look at the other stats and go, boy, 11-2 makes complete sense. They are really good, because they are really good. And then you've got a couple of others saying, how'd they win 11 games?
They sound a little old-school Miami Hurricane-ish.
Yeah. Yeah. So, we'll see. Look, they could play the cleanest game on the face of the earth, right? I mean, remember I said about Ohio State, Jackson had to move over and play left tackle. We'll see how the crowd affects him and so forth. And Ohio State not one time jumped. And I gave them all the credit in the world. I said, look at the discipline of that team. This crowd has been yelling and screaming all day, and it never fazed them. Well, let's see if the same thing happens this time, or if this time it becomes Penn State, Illinois, because Illinois was fazed by the crowd noise. We'll see. Washington was fazed by it. Illinois was fazed by it. Ohio State, to his credit, was disciplined, on point, didn't have an issue. So we'll find out how SMU handles it on Saturday. It's just really, I mean, again, the talent is obviously there. You look at the talent, it's like, okay, every time Jennings drops back to throw, you think there's a potential for a big play. So it's, I mean, again, they've got the talent, but they kind of skirt the line between reckless and aggressive. And I'd say 9 times out of 10, that gets you in trouble. So, yeah. Now, we're going to talk to Leah today, right?
Correct, 2:05.
2:05, talk with her. And Frank Bodani tomorrow. Maybe we get the King on tomorrow. See if we can make that happen. Yeah. But see what I'm saying? I mean, like, numbers don't always tell the entire story. But this is just me looking at numbers and watching video, and I can see it on the video. as opposed to Woody Johnson, who says we shouldn't acquire Jerry Jeudy because his Madden number isn't good.
I saw that.
How unbelievable is that?
I saw somebody online just say, being rich must be wild. Like, well, did you see you supposedly told Mike White he sucked after Mike White played in that game against the Seahawks a couple years ago with broken ribs to try and get them into the playoffs?
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, like, he did later apologize for it.
It's like, what?
Well, I mean, it's not going well when, these stories start to break.
But the part about the Madden number,
yeah,
it's like people basing their opinions on how well somebody's playing because of their fantasy number, right? Same thing with the Madden. Well, he's got to be good. His Madden number's great. I'm like, what are we doing here? What are you talking about? It's.
I think the bigger question is how does Woody Johnson know his Madden number? I assume somebody had to tell him his Madden number, not that Woody was playing.
You never know. I mean,
That's true.
could be him, could be family members, could be whatever.
Yeah, like. Well.
I mean, it could be whatever, but it's like, okay. It's like when people put a lot of stock in PFF numbers, okay, and I'm not downgrading PFF in any way. Pro Football Focus. It gives everybody kind of a gauge of what everything is. But the PFF guys are grading what they see, putting a grade to it. But now let's get to the parts they don't know. They don't really know what the play really is. How is it supposed to be blocked? Did they run the right depth of a route? All these things that only the team would know. So they're nice gauges when it comes to, what they see on a tape without the background information to know whether everything on there was actually run correctly or not. You know what I mean? Did you win against your guy and so forth? I mean, that part, I understand that. But that's where, like, with PFF, you don't know what, they don't know what the play was, how it was supposed to be run, how they may have been trying to give him a false pre-read, something, you know what I mean? There's a lot of things that go into it, and they can only grade what they see. So that part I do understand. But that's why I'm saying, you don't sit there and put it in a rock solid, oh yeah, that's exactly what happened. No, there's a lot more that goes into it than that. Same thing with a Madden grade. I mean, I've never seen Madden in my life. I've never even seen the game. Never even seen it, let alone play it. And I don't know. It's interesting how between analytics and something like that, how do you make those mistakes? I mean, this is why you have people, and people make mistakes. Check the corner office. Oh, just kidding. All right. But people make mistakes. They make mistakes on judgment, whatever. They didn't quite see it the way, whatever. So you've got, okay, so I will start out with the preface of, yeah, that happens. But usually when you're a pro, a minimum, 8 times out of 10, I'll say 20% of the time you might be wrong on something. But 8 times out of 10, because it is your profession, it is your job to evaluate. You know what you're looking at and why and how it fits into what you're doing. And for whatever reason, you have an owner like Woody Johnson trusting Madden over his own people, whose job it is to look at people and say, yes, no, maybe. Because that's their job.
He could be out of touch enough to think that Madden actually does the rating.
You're really out of touch at that point.
Yes.
For obvious reasons. We'll come back with more in a moment here on News Radio 1070 WKOK.
When car repairs get difficult,
Well, I just don't know.
Me neither.
we get good. Sunbury Motors. More than quality new and used cars, Sunbury Motors specializes in complicated auto repair diagnosis. They can handle intricate repairs and even complete auto body with service open Monday through Friday, 7 till 4. And Sunbury Motors has made simple repairs easy. Maintaining your vehicle is necessary. Finding the time to do it is difficult. Welcome to Sunbury Motors Quick Lane. Just walk in or call ahead. Relax in their remodeled waiting room with Wi-Fi, beverages, and snacks. While Sunbury Motors factory-trained techs take care of your oil change, tire alignments, brakes, and inspections. Quick Lane, 6:30 to 6 Monday through Friday, Saturday 6:30 till 2. Sunbury Motors, Ford and Hyundai, North 4th Street, Sunbury. And Sunbury Motors Kia, routes 11 and 15 in Hummel's Wharf. We take the out of auto repair.
Bringing you an in-depth look at Penn State sports and more. This is the Steve Jones Show on News Radio 1070 WKOK. The Steve Jones Show is presented by Sunbury Motor Company, Purdy Insurance, and Brewers Outlet. Now from the Sunbury Motor Studio, here's Steve Jones.
This half hour brought to you by our good friends at Purdy Insurance, Market Street in Sunbury. Go to purdyinsurance.com. Auto, home, life, business, boat, motorcycle, RV. There are just more insurance needs for all of us. So you need somebody to manage everything for you. Where do I need to go for car insurance? Where do I need to go to homeowners insurance? What about my business insurance? So I need to go to the best in the business that knows all the ins and outs and make sure I'm fully insured and saves me money wherever they can. It is all at Purdy Insurance, Market Street in Sunbury. Go to purdyinsurance.com. All right. So, talk to Leah in the next half hour about SMU. We're talking about the ability to use Madden as your gauge to make trades. I mean, I know that sounds absurd, but it's not.
Well, in the defense, you do end up like the Jets if you do that.
Yeah. Right. Supposedly, the story goes that Woody Johnson, the owner of the Jets, put the kibosh on a trade to acquire Jerry Jeudy. I would think, from Denver, I think at the time?
Yes.
Had to be, right? And he put the kibosh on it, as the story goes, because his Madden number wasn't good. What? You don't make judgments on Madden numbers. You don't make judgments on fantasy numbers. You don't make judgments on any of that stuff. You make judgments on, can the guy play? What's his talent? Does he fit with what we do? Does his personality fit with our locker room? I mean, the more that we remove the human element away from sports or even in everyday business, and you start relying more and more on numbers, that's when you start making more and more mistakes. And again, look, 8 times out of 10, the pros get it right. 2 out of 10, they won't. I mean, you're not going to get everything right. And you kind of sit back and say, geez, I'm really surprised that didn't work. Right? I mean, that happens sometimes. Yeah? When the Yankees signed, who's the pitcher that was with the Orioles? Kevin Brown. Well, Kevin Brown, everywhere he'd gone, he'd been really good. When he got to New York, he couldn't pitch in New York. How can you count on that? You're just looking at the stuff where, same thing with Ed Whitson. A long time ago, they acquired Ed Whitson. Ed Whitson pitched well everywhere. Got to New York, couldn't do it. Like, you just don't know. Red Sox signed Carl Crawford. Oh, he's an all-star with Tampa Bay, the whole thing. Zero fit with Boston. So, guys, I mean, you make mistakes. But I will go with the eyes over the analytics every single time. These are professional eyes. It's their job to know what they're seeing, why they're seeing it, and how it fits with what you're doing or how it doesn't fit. I don't think we should acquire this guy because. Okay. As opposed to his Madden number. His Madden number? I don't want to know his Madden number. I don't want to know his fantasy number. I don't want to know his PFF number. Okay? I want to know, okay? You guys sit down. I'm not going to just take the word of one guy, but I want three of you to come in here and tell me honest opinion. Yes, no, maybe. Why? I realize people are trying to save money, so if I rely more on numbers and have fewer staff, well, now I can save money and still make acquisitions.
Which would be a good reason if any of these guys were actually, poverty-stricken.
Right. I mean, Woody Johnson's got tons of money. I mean, he's not in the same category as the suit, but I mean, he's got a ton of money.
It's not her and her. It is Johnson and Johnson.
True. True. But jeez, crazy.
I mean, it's not hard to see why they've struggled for so long, though. Even if 3/4 of this is 100% true.
Right. It is. Yeah, I don't really know what to say about it. It's just you kind of sit back and you're dumbfounded by it. Really? Wow. So, yeah.
I was going to say, Jerry Jones is walking around Dallas today going, see, I'm not that bad.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah. There you go. All good. So, yeah.
It's also easy to see why he and Aaron Rodgers got along for a while, too.
Oh, great. Perfect. Yeah. I was told people have been asking about what's going to be like in the stadium Saturday. They have a little more, the people who run the game normally for Penn State have a little more latitude than you would think. It's not going to be so strict. They'll have some latitude to do a lot of the same things that they do at a Beaver Stadium game. Maybe not all of it, but a lot of the same things they should be able to do. And again, I got this from somebody who knows, who's been in the meetings, and I talked to him actually early this afternoon about it. I said, no. I said, you have a lot of clamps on you. He says, actually, not really. He says, yeah, when SMU enters, there's a video and the whole thing, and here, and so forth. He says, but, and the SMU band will get a chance to play at certain times, and Penn State's blue band gets to play at certain times. He said, for the most part, we're kind of allowed to do what we usually do. I said, okay, all right. We'll see how that plays out. That could be, because you don't want to take everything away from the atmosphere there. You're hosting it for a reason. I mean, my goodness, the World Series, the NBA Finals, the Stanley Cup Finals. I mean, those are all home and aways. So, and they allow the home atmosphere to be in there. So it's not a totally neutral. It won't be a totally neutral situation.
I was reading somewhere that they kind of I misnamed them as home games, as they're more host sites, and that's why and that's why SMU's allowed to do stuff. But I was reading that the NCAA allows the host sites, if they're on campus, for the home team to do a little more. And I think it's just somebody said it's going to be along those lines, like you're saying, that SMU's allowed to do a little more stuff because it's
right.
They're but it's not going to be like they're playing at a neutral site place either.
Right. They'll get an intro video, the whole deal. They'll be booed going onto the field like everybody else does. And Penn State will get its own intro video, and then the place will go crazy, and they'll run out on the field. Once and again, there are moments where the SMU band is going to be their time to play. There are going to be moments where the Penn State Marching Blue Band, it is their turn to play. But a lot of the rest of it is going to be what you're used to in Beaver Stadium. That's how it was all phrased to me, is that there aren't really that many changes in all this. Like, okay. All right. I'm there. I got it. I think it's great. It's what so I do find that part to be interesting. And look, we're all going to get a gauge for it tomorrow night, right? Because tomorrow night, Notre Dame will take on Indiana. And if it seems like it's a Notre Dame home game, because you can hear stuff in the background as to what they're doing, not doing, things like that, then you go from there. Dante Pavia.
Oh.
He's going to be allowed to play for Vanderbilt next year. Judge William Campbell's decision yesterday is not a final ruling in the case, but it does prevent the NCAA from keeping Pavia out of college football until the case is resolved. He sued, claiming the organization's rule that counts a player's time in junior college toward his overall years of NCAA eligibility is a violation of antitrust law that was unfairly limiting his ability to make money from his name, image, and likeness. Pavia posted, "My lawyers are legit." Well, first of all, they're going up against the NCAA's lawyers, which one can argue, I'm not sure if they get the degrees from a community college or not. I mean, they lose every time. Look, the NCAA lawyers are obviously extremely good, very, very talented, but they're playing with a weak hand. That's the issue.
Do the Washington Generals have a law school?
Oh, good. Oh, goodness. Ryan Doughton, Pavia's attorney, said, "We're not saying the NCAA can't have eligibility requirements, but a junior college season should not be the equivalent of an NCAA season." The NCAA's lawyers argued in their response to Pavia's lawsuit that a ruling in favor of the quarterback could have far-reaching implications.
I think they have that line. They just mimeograph that line.
I mean, all they do is cut and paste it.
Yeah.
All right, man, the last of the house suit, all right, we could move that over to this. Okay, great, got it. It really cuts down on the amount of writing you actually have to do. I mean, really. Man. The the top NFL draft picks on the CFP. Okay, that's a pay one. All right. So, Malik Murphy, we already told his story. Last year, Arch Manning was the third-string quarterback, contrary to popular belief. When Quinn Ewers got hurt, Murphy stepped in and won 2 games for them as the starting quarterback. But when the season ended, he opted to transfer. And he ended up at Duke. When he opted to transfer, that elevated Arch Manning from third to second on the depth chart. Well, now he's going to go to Oregon State. He visited Auburn, he visited Kentucky.
That's an interesting choice.
Well, Giovanni McCoy entered the transfer portal, who had been the Oregon State quarterback, and he'd been a transfer from Idaho. They went 5-7 this year. He started 9 games. So there you go. It's his third school in 3 years. Boy, it sure is a different time. It is a completely different time. Bowl games tonight. Let's see here. There's one tonight. Now, this goes opposite the Broncos and the Chargers, which I think is a pretty good game. That's on Prime tonight. Sam Houston State against Georgia Southern in the R&L Carriers New Orleans Bowl. You have always been a big New Orleans Bowl fan.
Giant.
And just the mere thought that you are going to hang in with this. Very impressive.
I am not, but...
Oh, listen to you. That's just awful.
Actually, that might actually be on what's on the TV at the Daily Item tonight because we don't get Amazon. So.
Oh, you don't?
No, we do not have any streaming services at the paper.
Okay. Well, I do. I do get streaming. Or to quote the corner office, streaming. I'm all about the streaming numbers. Where are we right now? Streaming. All right. But last night, James Madison won, rallied second half, 10 points in the third, 10 in the fourth, and beat Western Kentucky 27-17. And UNLV beat Cal last night. I got to the end of the half of that game, and it's like, I'm going to bed. I'm done.
I saw today they have like 8 guys in the portal already.
Who does? UNLV. Well, again, Barry Odom left as the head coach.
I forgot.
Yeah, he left as head coach. See, there's got to be a way
right?
to. Yeah,
Purdue.
There's got to be a way to stem that,
yeah.
And I wonder if a way to do it is to put a clause in where, you leave your school before January 4th as a $10 million fine. And you're saying, why January 4th? The reason I'm saying January 4th is that's the last bowl game. Or if you leave before your team plays its bowl game, it's a $10 million fine. Right? Then after that, you can go anywhere you want.
As they move up, they'll probably find a booster to pay that too.
Sure. Oh, it was interesting. Did you see the Alabama story?
I did see Mr. Burns' note.
You know what? This tells me something, though. And it's not positive about Alabama.
No.
In other words, what it tells me is they're getting almost every dime they can out of the whales. But they need to have the fan in the stands who can donate $18 a month, because he's talking about $18 a month, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And again, you're talking at Tennessee, $10 more on tickets going specifically to NIL. He wants them to donate $18 and do it a monthly basis. So what, 18's what, $180, $204 a year? Right? No, 18 would do $216 a year. My apologies. $216 a year. To go specifically to NIL. And when you're doing the Sarah McLachlan appeal, right, which is on TV every 12 seconds, for just $18 a month, you too can help us keep our running back.
I would sing this song, but I don't think we want that.
No. No. Well, it's like, let's see, I could donate $11 to Tunnel for Towers and help veterans get homes, disabled veterans get homes, or I can help get a running back.
Oh, running back.
Exactly. That's what they're like. Look, there are other really great people out there. They'll donate to T2T. Yeah, absolutely. Can see it now.
But the Tide need a running back.
Yeah. I mean, and they've had guys go into the portal.
I think that also means that, they're starting, they are going to be the getting poached like everybody else.
Oh, sure they are. Of course they are. I mean, that's the issue. People are going in and they're taking their guys saying, hey, look, you're never going to play there. We can give you more money. Come on here, blah, blah, blah. They can do all that stuff. And for a mere $18 a month, just only 60 to 70 cents a day. Let's say 60 cents a day. Right? You, too, can be a part of this.
You forgot less than a price of a cup of coffee.
Yes. Less than the price of a cup of coffee. There you are. Huh? See, that tells you everything, doesn't it? Yeah. That's what it's all about. Right? And look, and let's face it, other people are going to have to do this too. But it tells me they've tapped out the bigger sources they have. They need the smaller sources to help them out to kind of come together. So it's like a presidential campaign when they're talking about, oh, we got all these small donors. I was like, okay. Yeah, look at that. That's the groundswell of support we have. All right.
A University of Bama grad needs to invent a sneaker or something, I think.
I mean, look, like you're Oregon. You're not looking at your fan base saying, hey, for $18 a month, I got Phil Knight.
Yes.
You know, changes everything. We'll come back more in a moment here on News Radio 1070 WKOK.
Party time, game time, or just fun time. Doesn't matter what time it is because it's Brewers Outlet time. The beverage supermarket has the area's largest beer selection. Imports, microbrews, ciders, and domestics. Pick from over 100 ice-cold 12-packs and dozens of 24-ounce singles. Soda, snacks, hot sauces, fresh roasted peanuts. Make it one-stop party shopping, and don't forget the pickle bar. So whatever you're celebrating or just doing it up, Brewers Outlet, Reagan Street, Sunbury wants to see you. And thank you for your years of patronage.
This is CBS News on the Hour, sponsored by Progressive Insurance.
I'm Cammie McCormick. The suspect in the murder of United Healthcare CEO is now back in New York. DA Alvin Bragg.
This morning, the defendant waived extradition in Pennsylvania.
Stacey Lynn reports Luigi Mangione also now faces federal charges.
The federal case now takes precedence over the Manhattan DA's charges. The indictment is eligible for the death penalty, but the DOJ would have to seek the death penalty, which is very rare in federal cases and is generally reserved for terrorism. The only terrorism-related charge against Mangione is being brought by the Manhattan District Attorney. The federal system does not have parole, so if convicted on the federal charge, the sentencing guidelines would include life in prison.
A state appeals court has removed Fulton County DA Fonnie Willis from the Georgia election interference case against Donald Trump and others, and that leaves the future of the case uncertain. Legal analyst Jessica Levinson.
Now we have to overlay this question about Fonnie Willis and her appearances of impropriety on the reality of the political calendar. And I think it is extremely unlikely that anything other than a full pause on this case occurs for the next 4 years.
A trial judge in March had allowed Willis to stay on the case after an aide she had a relationship with stepped aside. Congress has until midnight Friday to come up with a way to fund the government now that the previous deal has fallen through after pressure from Trump and Elon Musk. While the political battle plays out, our Caitlin Huey-Burns reports the current president has been silent.
You know, where is President Biden in all of this? He, of course, is still the president until January 20th, and yet you have the president-elect kind of leading this charge here.
There's been a sentence in the shocking French trial that is closely followed around the world. CBS's Elaine Cobb reports.
Dominique Pellicot admitted to the court that he had drugged his wife so that he and dozens of men he invited into their bedroom could rape her. His wife, Giselle, has become an icon in France, admired for her courage in waiving anonymity.
Her ex-husband has been jailed for 20 years. Some Amazon workers have walked off the job during a crucial time of year for the online retailer. Lauren Linder reports from Pittsburgh.
The International Brotherhood of Teamsters says workers at 7 Amazon facilities are striking this morning in an effort to pressure the shipping giant for a labor agreement during a key shopping period. They say Amazon ignored a December 15th deadline the union set for contract negotiations.
On Wall Street, the Dow is recovering some from yesterday's losses. It is currently up 342 points. This is CBS News.
Progressive Insurance. What do your home and auto have in common? They're yours, and Progressive protects them both. Bundle today at Progressive.com.
This year, American farmers will harvest 2.8 billion bushels of wheat and 15.1 billion bushels of corn. And to this day, American road workers have built 4.2 million miles of roads and counting. We're proud that John Deere machines rolling off the line here in the USA play a part in supporting Americans who work the land and build a better tomorrow. Nothing runs like a Deere. Learn more at johndeere.com/manufacturing.
What was that? That is business phone bliss with the Ooma Cloud Phone System. It handles all our voice, video, and messaging needs.
You sound very...
Calm? I am. Ooma has everything I need to handle the busy holiday season, like virtual receptionist, call routing, and video conferencing. And it starts at just $19.95 per month per user, plus taxes and fees.
Ooma.
Nice. Find your business comm at ooma.com/radio.